Coming up, a shooting in the Joplin area leads to an arrest of one of the victims. And McDonald County, Missouri challenges parents to have their kids read 100 books before kindergarten. Also, what began at Crowder College as an auction of wreaths is back this year and bigger than it was before.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Sitting around waiting on the rain. It's going to be here. Everybody's going to get a little taste of it as well. Anything that we've had so far has been very light, even trace amounts. And the majority of the 4 states have stayed very dry. Now, while we sit around and wait for it, we've got a very comfortable Wednesday morning. 63 degrees already over 7th and Rangeline. 30 consecutive day, wind at double digits, but hard to beat those temperatures there for the middle of November, from 60 to 64. As far as the Skywatch storm tracker goes, yeah, while we've got the cloud cover, it's all eyes out here in central Kansas and down to the Kansas-Oklahoma state line, because that's where we'll see the formulation of our rain that will sweep through later this evening. Not going to affect our morning commute at all. It really shouldn't affect our even afternoon. Look at that, how that warm trend comes right out of Texas and skirts through us. So we've just been lucky here temperature-wise, and we'll be back up into the high 60s once again. Now, let's talk about the good stuff that's headed our way. And when I say good stuff, I do mean rain. So as we get just some light rain that works in from the south, that's where it begins to formulate here for early this afternoon. And then it really begins to get on us out to the west about 4, 5 o'clock, sweeps through the central portion of the 4 states by about 8, 9 o'clock, and then finally disappears off to the east early Thursday morning. Clouds go with it, and we know we've got that cold front that's going to move in as well. So for a Veterans Day, it's going to be a little bit chillier than certainly what we had earlier this week. And it keeps on cooling down to the point where we're only in the 50s there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
All right, well, get ready for another cool down.
See that overnight low between Friday and Saturday?
Try not to look at that. It's going to be chilly,
Whew.
for sure. Described it well on the board. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin police investigate 2 shootings, one leading to the arrest of the victim. Both shootings happened on Monday. The JPD responded to the first one just before 10:30 a.m. on the 900 block of South Conner Avenue. That's where they found 29-year-old Joseph Pryor suffering from a single gunshot wound. He received treatment for a non-life-threatening wound at the hospital, and then police arrested him on active warrants out of Webb City. The second shooting happened on the 3100 block of South Jefferson Avenue. Officers were called around 5:30 p.m. and found a man with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. No word on his condition. Joplin police are still investigating, but they believe this was an isolated incident and that there is no threat to the public. The Kansas Department of Transportation says it is facing a staffing shortage that could slow the clearing of highways in winter storms. The department said yesterday that it's about 30% short of being fully staffed with snowplow operators across the state. The agency says the staffing shortage is worse this year than it has been in the past. Transportation Secretary Julie Lawrence says the staffing shortage means that with inclement weather, some highways might not be cleared as quickly as they have been in the past. She says she's warning motorists now so they can plan ahead or alter travel plans when the state faces winter storms. A Pittsburgh State professor is continuing a long-standing tradition of bridging cultures in the community. Bafa Bafa, named after the man who created it as a cultural simulator where PSU students break off into 2 groups, develop their own cultural norms, and then discuss each group's culture to better understand what it's like to feel culture shocked.
For many years we've had a lot of international students here, and so they feel kind of lost. And so it's a way for you to have empathy to see, oh, I never realized this is what somebody might be feeling when they come to this culture. But it's also a way to prepare you and say, oh my gosh, if I ever go out there, I want people to have empathy for me.
At the end of the simulator, students debriefed and discussed what they learned about each team's cultures in the hope that they can have more empathy towards others. Reading can be very important for young kids in their development, so the McDonald County School District is challenging parents of young kids to help them read 100 books before kindergarten. As part of the program, the district is offering mobile book checkout stations where parents can pick a book to read every week. If they follow the program, They'll hit 100 books before the child starts kindergarten.
This program does is it lets them take books home, and so they're learning the responsibility of bringing books back, taking books home, but then it's also giving them time to read with their families. And so they're short books, they're board books, so it usually takes maybe 10 minutes.
Book checkout locations are available at Southwest City Elementary and Knoll Primary School. What began as a live auction for wreaths and holiday decor has expanded, but its heart is still in the holidays. The annual Festival of Wreaths took place yesterday at Crowder College in Neosho. The event draws four-staters interested in bidding on clothing, electronics, household items, and of course, wreaths and other Christmas decorations.
Great feeling. We have a wonderful community. The county's Newton, McDonald, all these surrounding communities have been great to chip in. We've got great, support from the school, our board members. So it's a team effort, definitely, and it feels great.
The auction benefits Crowder scholarships and other programs. Last year, it raised more than $91,000. The Jasper and Newton County chapter of 100 Women Who Care is helping support the Alliance of Southwest Missouri's Good Dads program. On Tuesday, the group donated $2,500 to the Alliance. The Good Dads program helps fathers build better relationships with their kids and also helps fathers budget to meet family needs.
An opportunity for them to reach out to fathers, to reconnect, build those relationships with those kids, reconnect, learn how to budget, learn how to make all of those child payments. And what a delight to support that charity this quarter.
100 Women Who Care is an international organization of women who gather with the mission to donate money to local charities. Folks in Miami have a chance to learn some relaxation and balance techniques. The Miami Public Library is offering Tai Chi classes hosted by Rick Pulley. First class was offered on Tuesday. There will be other classes on November 16th, 18th, 23rd, and 30th. In December, there are classes on the 2nd, 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Range of motion. The one thing about Tai Chi that I do like is it's personal to a person. When they learn it, it becomes them. Everybody does it different than each other. They may know the routine, but they look different doing it.
The program is federally funded by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. It's 5:07.
It's a mild start, anywhere from 60 to 64 degrees. Can't beat that for November. Now we know we've got rain coming, and it'll kick in this afternoon as it moves in from the west. Still going to have temperatures, though, in the mid to high 60s. And then eventually overnight, we'll have the cold front move through after the rain. So here's where it formulates out to the west on us for the afternoon, and then by the time we get to about 8, 9 o'clock, sweeping through the central portion of the four states, slowly moving off and bringing us actual coolness. Yeah, man, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday have just been too good as far as our daily highs. Time to drop down now into the 40s and 50s as we head into the weekend.
All right, that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, it's the passing of an era as the Fort Scott Community College announces it's shutting down its almost 100-year-old football program. Plus, the latest SpaceX crew splashed back down to Earth after a successful mission. And a major vaccine manufacturer has officially submitted a request to get its booster shot authorized for all adults. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Fort Scott Community College announcing the termination of its football program, and that announcement coming just 24 hours after the team's season ended with a playoff loss to Independence. In a release, the school gave a few reasons for ending the program, including limited resources, changes in Jayhawk Conference eligibility rules in 2016, and, quote, the changing ethos of football in general. The Fort Scott program has been around for nearly 100 years, has given some local kids their only opportunity to play college ball, including former player and current Fort Scott High School head coach, Bo Graham.
It meant the world to me. I didn't have a lot of offers out of high school to go continue my education and my athletic career, and that was the one place that I feel like wanted me. The coaches there at the time were great. Everything was well, and it's molded me into who I am today. I'm not sure where I'd be today. I might not be coaching today if it wasn't for Fort Scott Community College.
We currently have 4 NFL football players in the NFL now, and it's just none of them would ever had a shot if they never came to Fort Scott Community College, because Fort Scott is just a total different animal. It's a great community that wants to support its programs.
The school says that while the program has ended, it will still honor scholarships for players who choose to stay in school. You can check out more reaction to the story on our sports page at KOAMNewsNow.com. Girard Trojans, one of just 8 teams remaining in the Class 3A state football bracket, hitting the road to go to Holton on Friday. Got a spot in the Final Four on the line, and it's going to be a good one. Both teams undefeated headed into Friday. Everybody 10-0 on the season. For the Trojans, about a 3-hour road trip on Friday, and their first road game in a month after being able to finish playing 4 straight at home.
Yeah, I think we're ready. I mean, Holton's a little ways out there from us, so we're just going to have to go up and just get off the bus 100% just like we always have been.
Yeah, it's been a nice home stretch, that's for sure, but we were on the road for 3 weeks before that, so you know, we got to be able to handle it. You know, we're going to travel plans aren't going to change too much. We're going to stop, get out a little bit, stretch our legs a little bit, get back on the bus and get there, and hope to get off the bus well. That's going to be important in games like this, that you don't have that lull. So you know, we'll try to make the best plans possible and then hopefully carry them out.
Last night, the opening night of the basketball season for the Kansas Jayhawks, tipping off the year at the State Farm Champions Classic at Madison Square Garden, and entering the season ranked number 3 in the nation. Jalen Coleman, a right side three-pointer. KU goes up 1 midway through the first half, and then in the second half, get used to this name, Ochai Agbaji. He had a huge night, receiving into the alley-oop. Agbaji in transition, pulls up. All of a sudden, the lead's 11. Agbaji, finish it. He had 29 points in the season opener. Kansas wins it over Michigan State, 87-74. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, about 1 million people in Ethiopia live in famine-like conditions, and now fighting in the region fuels the world's worst hunger crisis in decades. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Getting ready to roll past 5:17. Perfect time for a little weather on the 7s here on a Wednesday morning. Sunrise officially over Joplin today at 6:52, 63 degrees. We're sitting around waiting on the rain that we know is going to be here by tonight, but it's a wonderful, wonderful morning. Let's roll a whole bunch of 63s. Lamar, Carthage, Neodesha, Parsons, Miami. So 63 definitely our dominant number. Wind still working in from the south. Died down a little bit from yesterday, but we still see a little blue show up there as far as our wind contour, indicating some gusts of 15 to 20 miles per hour. Skywatch storm tracker, just cloud cover. Really what we're waiting on is everything to bubble up out here. We start to see a little bit begin to formulate, but it's not going to affect our morning one bit. Nice little warm swath cuts its way from Texas right through us. Get on the east side of that, we'd probably have more seasonable like November temperatures. Probably be sitting in the 40s right now compared to being able to wake up and get started in the 60s. As far as our high pressure, well, this is what we had hanging over us yesterday. It's now moved to the east of the Mississippi. It's going to be replaced by this. This storm will stay to the upper plains, eventually feed them some snow. But right in between there, almost like bookends, is where ours will begin to formulate here. It'll formulate late in the morning, but really not be on us till late afternoon, early evening. There's our afternoon planner as the rain will kick in, move from west to east, and then overnight we'll have the thunderstorms followed by a cold front. So let's put future track into motion. There we are about the 4 o'clock hour, and we're beginning to see a definitive line. That's going to be lightning, thunder, the whole nine. Also, too, anywhere from, say, about 1/4 to an inch of accumulation. But here's the thing, as we're pushing through about 8, 9 through the central portion, intruding into the east, really our ground dry enough and our streams and creeks low enough, we should not have any flooding concerns with this. Of concern, do want to point out, we do see the western portion of our highlighted counties in the marginal category on the severe thunderstorm risk map. The chances for hail and high wind, they are slim. They are slim. But I want to go ahead and point that out because it does qualify as that marginal category. 7-day forecast after the storms roll through there, drop down into the 40s and we'll top out around 60 on Veterans Day. At least we'll get more sunshine on Veterans Day though. And then look at that, we keep on cooling down. 49 on Friday, below the freezing mark from Friday night into Saturday morning. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. 4 astronauts returned to Earth last night as 4 more prepare to leave today. NASA had originally planned for 2 crews to meet aboard the International Space Station, but as Elise Preston shows us, in space doesn't always work out.
Astronauts inside the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule waved and flashed the peace sign shortly after returning home.
So it's great to be back to planet Earth.
Social media footage captured the spacecraft streaking across the sky over New Orleans Monday evening before it splashed down in the Gulf of Mexico.
3, 2, 1.
The crew, including Americans Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur, launched back in April on a mission to the International Space Station that lasted 199 days.
It's the longest flight by a U.S. spacecraft ever.
Astronauts were asked to wear absorbent underwear on their return trip because of a problem with the Dragon capsule's toilet. CBS News space analyst Bill Harwood says that's not so uncommon.
And you know, people forget that every time astronauts go outside on a spacewalk, you know, these last 6 or 7 hours, sometimes 8 hours, they wear the same thing. Okay, so it's not unusual in space. It's happened before.
With the Crew 2 astronauts back safely, NASA now turns its attention to launching their replacements. Crew 3 arrived at Kennedy Space Center last month.
We're ready to go and couldn't be happier about being here.
But because of a minor medical issue with one of the astronauts and bad weather, the flight was delayed.
The crew going up's got a pretty busy schedule ahead. They've got spacewalks planned. They're still trying to upgrade the solar arrays on the International Space Station.
It's now scheduled to blast off Wednesday night. Elise Preston, CBS News.
Our question for you, I guess it depends on how brave you are. Do you want to be a spaceman, in the words of Oasis? Let us know. You can log on to our Facebook post, KOAM News Now, or you can go straight to the poll, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. We'll be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the Justice Department has asked a federal judge to allow its vaccine requirement rule for employers to go forward after a temporary halt was issued. More than 24 states have challenged the Biden administration's rule. Meanwhile, another major vaccine manufacturer has officially submitted a request to get its booster shot authorized for all adults. Deborah Alfarone has more from the White House.
The Biden administration has responded to a federal appeals court's temporary freeze against the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's rule. It mandates employers with 100 or more workers to implement a vaccine requirement or regular testing starting in January. In the filing, the Justice Department argues not allowing the rule would, quote, likely cost dozens or even hundreds of lives per day, in addition to large numbers of hospitalizations, other serious health effects, and tremendous costs.
These are policies that are protecting workforces and avoiding disruptions related to employees getting sick with COVID.
It comes as vaccine manufacturer Pfizer has asked the FDA to grant emergency use authorization for its booster shots for all adults.
The third dose is the one that gives very, very high level of protection, higher than the originally achieved levels of protection, which was 95%. With the 2 doses.
Right now, only seniors and those who are at high risk are eligible for the Pfizer booster in the U.S.
The U.S. Surgeon General has released a toolkit to help health professionals, educators, and community leaders combat vaccine misinformation.
We believe that every parent has a right to the facts so they can make decisions for their children based on accurate scientific information.
It comes nearly a week after the administration's rollout of Pfizer's pediatric doses for kids ages 5 to 11. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
According to the latest CDC numbers, more than 78% of Americans over the age of 12 have received at least 1 dose of a COVID vaccine. That's a look at one of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Mild temperatures, even with the cloudy skies, 63 the dominant number, so we're cruising right now. Remember, we've got rain showing up later on this afternoon. Thunderstorm activity going to carry us through the night, followed by a little bit of a cold front. We'll get some heavy rain, anywhere from 1/4 to 1 inch of accumulation. However, we should not have any flooding concerns.
Coming up, a shooting in the Joplin area leads to an arrest of one of the victims. And McDonald County, Missouri challenges parents to have their kids read 100 books before kindergarten. Also, what began at Crowder College as an auction of wreaths is back this year and bigger than it was before.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch
Well,
weather
I tell you,
center.
it's absolutely gorgeous outside right now. Yeah, we've got cloud cover, but for it to be sitting at 63 degrees on a mid-November morning, I'll take it as long as it wants to stick around. South wind 13 miles per hour, but look at these temperatures ranging anywhere from 60 to 64. Whoa, just unreal. Now, we're not going to have a whole lot of warm up today. High 60s, about as good as we'll see. But the big thing is, waiting on the rain. Now, nothing's formulated as of yet. Pay attention to the western portion through central Kansas and then down by the Kansas-Oklahoma state line as it begins to bubble up later this morning. Shouldn't affect our morning drive, though. We'll be just fine on that. And there's that warm swath. Cuts out of Texas and right through the 4 states with very mild temperatures all throughout the day. Let's talk about the serious stuff, and that will be the thunderstorm activity that rolls in for the afternoon hours. Be on our western part about 4-5 o'clock, central portion 8 to 9 o'clock, eastern edge pushing from really about 9 o'clock to shortly after midnight. And then the skies clear, and once the skies begin to clear, well, then we're going to drop back down. Thursday, Veterans Day, still not too bad. That's seasonable with a high of 60 and sunshine. But look at Friday, specifically Friday night into Saturday as we drop below the freezing point.
All right. Get
through this thunderstorm today, and then we'll start popping up the frost advisories and freeze warnings. I bet you we're talking about them by tomorrow morning. Thunderstorms first, one thing at a time.
We'll get there.
One day at a time. Valerie Bertinelli.
All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin police investigate 2 shootings, one leading to the arrest of the victim. Both shootings happened Monday. The JPD responded to the first one just before 10:30 a.m. on the 900 block of South Conner Avenue. That's where they found 29-year-old Joseph Pryor suffering from a single gunshot wound. He received treatment for a non-life-threatening wound at the hospital, and then police arrested him on active warrants out of Webb City. The second shooting happened on the 3100 block of South Jefferson Avenue. Officers were called around 5:30 p.m. and found a man with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. No word on his condition. Joplin police are still investigating, but they believe this was an isolated incident and that there is no threat to the public. The Kansas Department of Transportation says it's facing a staffing shortage that could slow the clearing of highways in winter storms. The department said today that it's about 30% short of being fully staffed with snowplow operators across the state. The agency says the staffing shortage is worse this year than it has been in the past. Transportation Secretary Julia Lorenz says the staffing shortage means that with inclement weather, some highways might not be cleared as quickly as they have been in the past. She says she's warning motorists now so they can plan ahead or alter travel plans when the state faces winter storms. Pitt State professors continuing a tradition of teaching students about new cultures and stepping out of their comfort zones. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more on how the once-a-semester cultural simulation helps students see through the eyes of others.
Pittsburgh State professor Grant Moss has lived all over the world.
I've lived in Spain, I've lived in Ecuador, I lived in Chile.
It prompted him to help the Pitt State community learn about and be more understanding of different cultures through a simulation called Bafa Bafa.
The whole idea of the cultural simulation is to teach people that you have a lot of cultural baggage, so to speak, and you have biases, just you grow up with them.
Moss splits up the room into 2 groups with their own languages, customs, and rules.
Each group then has these different lenses, and so when you go and you visit the other culture, when you come back and debrief, you're using that lens. So that is what's so powerful about it, is you learn, oh my gosh, I've got years and years of biases.
Moss says it's a way for students to understand what it's like to feel alienated or confused when coming from one culture to another.
For many years, we've had a lot of international students here, and so they feel kind of lost. And so it's a way for you to have empathy to see, oh, I never realized this is what somebody might be feeling.
Pitt State student Tiara Wallace says she plans to go to Spain next summer, and this activity helped prepare her for the culture shock she may experience.
I think this was a perfect opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone and experience new things. I'll be there for a month, and just allowing myself to have an open mind of experiencing new experiences, and also allowing like the country just to like overwhelm me with the new and different opportunities that it has.
Students discussed what they learned from each other's cultures. Moss says he hopes it'll help them have more empathy towards others. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
Simulation will continue again next semester. Reading can be very important for young kids and their development. So the McDonald County School District is challenging parents of young kids to help them read 100 books before kindergarten. As part of the program, the district is offering mobile book checkout stations where parents can pick a book to read every week. If they follow the program, they'll hit 100 books before the child starts kindergarten.
This program does is it lets them take books home, and so they're learning the responsibility of bringing books back, taking books home, but then it's also giving them time to read with their families. And so they're short books, they're board books, so it usually takes maybe 10 minutes.
Book checkout locations are available at Southwest City Elementary and Knoll Primary School. What began as a live auction for wreaths and holiday decor has expanded, but its heart is still in the holidays. The annual Festival of Wreaths took place yesterday at Crowder College in Neosho. The event draws four-staters interested in bidding on clothing, electronics, household items, and of course, wreaths and other Christmas decorations.
It's a great feeling. We have a wonderful community. The county's Newton, McDonald, all these surrounding communities have been great to chip in. We've got great, support from the school, our board members. So it's a team effort, definitely, and it feels great.
Scholarships and other programs last year raised more than $91,000. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KUAM Morning News. Floating rubbish in London's waterways has become a dangerous eyesore, and now cleanup campaigners are doing something about it. Plus, Nobel laureate and human rights activist Malala Yousafzai gets married. We'll have the latest on her story. But first, it's 5:37.
60s right now. Eventually, a little afternoon thunderstorm activity shows up from the west as it works from west to east, carries us through Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. And despite the fact that we'll be back to the 70s today, look over the backside of the thunderstorm. Hello, cold front, as we head into the weekend. We'll be back with, let's do World Watch right after this.
Topping World Watch, the European Union accuses Belarus of acting like a gangster regime as thousands of freezing migrants camp on the Polish border. Poland has accused Belarus of attempting to orchestrate a crisis on the EU's eastern frontier by funneling migrants to the border in retaliation for sweeping sanctions imposed on Minsk in June. Belarus has repeatedly denied the claims, blaming the West for dangerous, sometimes fatal border crossings and poor treatment of migrants. For more than a year, the devastating war in Ethiopia's Tigray region has consumed Africa's second most populous nation. Jeffrey Feltman, the U.S. Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, has met with Ethiopia's Prime Minister to resolve the fighting. The UN Security Council called for the peace and for the access of humanitarian aid. Just about 1 million people live in famine-like conditions in the region as the fighting fuels the world's worst hunger crisis in a decade. Deborah Pata reports. Nobel laureate and human rights activist Malala Yousafzai has announced she's married. Malala made it public on Instagram on Tuesday. Her husband, Asser Malik, is an operations manager for the Pakistan Cricket Board. Malala gained international recognition for her activism against the Taliban's efforts to stop girls from attending school. She was shot in the head when she was 15 by a member of the Taliban and was flown to England to receive treatment. In 2014, she won the Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 17. Becoming the youngest laureate of the prize. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, talking about going to space. Now, back in April, 4 astronauts in a SpaceX Dragon capsule launched to the International Space Station. Their mission on board the ISS lasted almost 200 days. Monday night, crew finally came back home, splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico. NASA now turns its attention to sending the replacement crew, which, after a minor medical issue and some bad weather, should take place today. Reusable rockets, they've changed the considerations for what it takes to conduct a trip to space, so much so that some have even started paving the way for space tourism for just about anybody, if you can afford it, in the very near future. Our question for you this morning is, would you go to space, right? I mean, that's 67% of you said no. I'm good with the old terra firma, right where I want my feet to be. We got 33% that currently say, yeah, blast off, we're good to go. You can make your voice heard. Connect to us via our Facebook page or go directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door and update the old Skywatch storm tracker right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Frat members of the Phi Kappa Alpha fraternity at Pitt State are raising money and awareness for area homeless. They're doing so by staying outside in cardboard structures while collecting donations and money. Jasper, Newton County chapter of 100 Women Who Care is helping support the Alliance of Southwest Missouri's Good Dads program. On Tuesday, the group donated $2,500 to the Alliance. The Good Dads program helps fathers build better relationships with their kids and also helps fathers budget to meet family needs. Folks in Miami have a chance to learn some relaxation and balance techniques. The Miami Public Library is offering Tai Chi classes hosted by Rick Pulley. First class was offered Tuesday. There'll be other classes on November 16th, 18th, 23rd, and 30th. In December, the classes are set for the 2nd, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 14th through 16th. Reading can be very important for young kids and their development, so the McDonald County School District is challenging parents of young kids to help them read 100 books before kindergarten. As part of the program, the district is offering mobile book checkout stations where parents can pick a book to read every week. If they follow the program, they'll hit 100 books before the child starts kindergarten. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Well, a former management consultant swapped the rat race for a floating adventure. Now, his aim, to turn the tide on plastic pollution. Anna Stewart caught up with him on the Regent's Canal in London.
London's waterways, a place where I love to spend my weekends paddleboarding. But despite the tranquil surroundings, I'm never far from a piece of rubbish.
Oh, I'm gonna have to stop for this.
Today I'm joined by plastic cleanup campaigner Drew Bordeaux on his ingenious floating bike.
Oh, I've got a big one.
Oh my God, thanks a lot. Maybe I'm gonna come close by.
It's smelly.
Thank you.
Is the situation getting better or worse?
I think it's getting worse now, and that has been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic that made people use single-use plastic more. Yeah, so I'm picking up this single-use PPE equipment, the mask. Since the pandemic, this is the next pandemic for the wildlife.
Oh, I think that was a wet wipe. Where does all this rubbish, if it's not picked up, where does it end up?
First of all, it breaks down into smaller pieces called microplastics, and then from the canal, it's going to the river, and from the river it goes to the ocean, from the ocean to the fish, and back to us on for dinner. Actually, every week we're eating 1 credit card worth of microplastic every week.
We're eating a credit card worth of plastic.
It's also in water bottles as well, and bottled water, tap water everywhere. By collecting the rubbish, it's not that I can clean the river or the canal, but I can actually communicate with people. Do you like the bike? Tell them the dangers and ask them to go home and do something about it.
And you've got another project coming up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's next?
So we have to scale up, and time is running out. So we are building zero-emission cargo submarines with the core mission of restoring the ocean. We have microplastics filters in the submarines. As we deliver cargo on our submarine, we clean up microplastics.
This is so exciting. When can I see the submarine?
We're building the next 15-meter real-scale vessel mid next year.
How do fishing nets end up here?
People are fishing as well here.
Really? You've been doing this a lot longer than I have. How have I performed today?
You are on fire.
I filled up your basket.
You have filled up the basket.
Come here.
The dog's collecting rubbish.
Hi. Thanks. Can I have it? Before I go, could I give this a go?
Yeah, if you're up for it, let's do it.
Too much fun. Well, the UN Security Council is calling for peace and the access of humanitarian aid in Ethiopia. Just about 1 million people live in famine-like conditions in the Tigray region as the fighting fuels the world's worst hunger crisis in a decade. Deborah Pata reports.
We will bury the enemy with our blood and bones. It's hard to imagine these are the words of a Nobel Peace Prize winner. That's Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, marking 1 year since he sent his troops in to crush the rebellious Tigray region. Since then, his standing as a peacemaker who won the Nobel Prize for ending the war with Eritrea has been undermined. Abiy's troops, together with Eritrean soldiers, are accused of committing unspeakable atrocities. Massacres, gang rape and ethnic cleansing. The United Nations calls them war crimes and stresses they have been committed on both sides of the conflict.
They kill us, not we kill them, they kill us.
And at the center of it all, innocent civilians staring down a deepening humanitarian crisis. Over 900,000 people at risk of starvation, hunger used as a weapon of war as food aid convoys have been blocked. The immediate trigger for the military conflict was Tigray's decision to hold an unauthorized poll in 2020 after Abiy postponed the country's elections. And in November last year, he sent the Ethiopian military into Tigray, claiming he was responding to an attack on a government military camp. Since then, the fighting has seen devastating casualties, with as many as several 100,000 dead. Now there are fears that the Tigrayan soldiers could advance on Addis Ababa after they captured 2 cities near the capital and joined forces with 8 other anti-government factions. The US Embassy in Ethiopia has warned its citizens to leave the country without delay. Deborah Pata, Johannesburg, South Africa.
We'll be right back with another look at your forecast.
No rain action as of yet, and we'll get through the morning unscathed. Don't have any travel concerns, anything of that nature. It's very pleasant outside. Temperatures right now in anywhere from 60 to 64. Get up into the high 60s later on today, do so with the cloud cover. And then we sit back and we wait for the rain. Thunderstorm activity showing up for late afternoon, early evening for the western portion of southeast Kansas, about 8 to 9 o'clock for the central portion. And then as we push through about, say 9 to midnight there, as it finally departs off to the east, just in time for Thursday morning.
Coming up, a shooting in the Joplin area leads to an arrest of one of the victims. And McDonald County, Missouri challenges parents to have their kids read 100 books before kindergarten. Also, what began at Crowder College as an auction of wreaths is back this year and bigger than it was before.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip.
I had to do a little research, but I found it. Reading is fundamental is actually not a tagline. It is, in and of itself, its own nonprofit organization.
Oh.
I thought it was a tagline for something, but no. That's the name of the nonprofit. Reading is fundamental.
There you go.
Been around since the 60s. Who knew? Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline, 63 degrees is where we stand. Pretty heavy cloud cover right now, but tell you what, did a great job trapping in all that warmth from yesterday. It is delightful outside. Anywhere from 60 to 64 for a middle of November morning. Yes, please. Now it is a little bit breezy, still coming in from the south, and doing so at 14 miles per hour in both Independence and Chanute, 10 right now in Joplin. Give you an idea of the Skywatch storm tracker. Still waiting on the rain to develop out to our west. You see a little bit there, but that's all the way out in the panhandles. And nothing's going to affect our Wednesday morning commute. No worries about that. You can tell that little warm sector cuts out of Texas and right through us. So it really can't complain where we're headed temperature-wise. Let's talk about the serious stuff. That is the rain that will be upon us. We're not looking at anything severe. And the nice thing is with the ground being what it is, and our creeks and streams being pretty low right now. I did a bunch of hydrograph. Yeah, nerd alert. I went through a bunch of hydrographs yesterday. And our rivers are down, so we're going to be able to handle this anywhere from quarter to an inch of rain. Start about 4 or 5 o'clock, western edge of southeast Kansas. 8 to 9 for central portion. This will bring us thunder and lightning as well. And then from 9 to midnight, pushing off to east through southwest Missouri. After that, clearing skies, cold front behind it. We will have sunshine, high around 60 for Veterans Day. But then we keep on dropping down temperature-wise, especially our nighttime temperatures, to the point where we're below the freezing mark, anticipating being below the freezing mark from Friday into Saturday.
All right.
We got a bunch of high school football going on Friday night too. That rain on Friday, it'll be done in the morning though.
Oh, that's good.
And the key factor for our rain on Friday, we'll dive into that here in just a little bit. The Thursday night into Friday low, staying well above the freezing mark. So what does work in Friday morning, we're just going to keep it as rain.
All right. Well, we'll get through it and be ready for the cold. I don't know if we'll
Friday
be ready,
night,
but
we'll
we'll
have
pretend we're ready for the whole
I'm going to have about 18 layers on Friday night, 28 degrees.
No kidding.
Come on now.
Whew. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin police investigate 2 shootings, one leading to the arrest of the victim. Both shootings happened on Monday. JPD responded to the first one just before 10:30 a.m. on the 900 block of South Conner Avenue. That's where they found 29-year-old Joseph Pryor suffering from a single gunshot wound. He received treatment for a non-life-threatening wound at the hospital, and then police arrested him on active warrants out of Webb City. The second shooting happened on the 3100 block of South Jefferson Avenue. Officers were called around 5:30 p.m. and found a man with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. No word on his condition. Joplin police are still investigating, but they believe this was an isolated incident and that there is no threat to the public. The Oklahoma Supreme Court overturns a $465 million opioid ruling against drug maker Johnson & Johnson, finding the lower court wrongly interpreted the state's public nuisance law. The court ruled in a 5-1 decision Tuesday that the district court in 2019 was wrong to find that New Jersey-based J&J and its Belgium-based subsidiary Janssen Pharmaceuticals violated the state's public nuisance statute. It also rejected the state's appeal to increase the damage award to $9.3 billion. Spokespeople for Oklahoma's current Attorney General John O'Connor and for J&J did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The Kansas Department of Transportation says it is facing a staffing shortage that could slow the clearing of highways in winter storms. The department said yesterday that it's about 30% short of being fully staffed with snowplow operators across the state. Agency says the staffing shortage is worse this year than it has been in the past. Transportation Secretary Julie Lawrence says the staffing shortage means that with inclement weather, some highways might not be cleared as quickly as they have been in the past. She says she's warning motorists now so they can plan ahead or alter travel plans when the state faces winter storms. Reading can be very important for young kids and their development, so the McDonald County School District is challenging parents of young kids to help them read 100 books before kindergarten. As part of the program, the district is offering mobile book checkout stations where parents can pick a book to read every week. If they follow the program, they'll hit 100 books before the child starts kindergarten.
This program does is it lets them take books home, and so they're learning the responsibility of bringing books back, taking books home, but then it's also giving them time to read with their families. And so they're short books, they're board books, so it usually takes maybe 10 minutes.
Checkout locations are available at Southwest City Elementary and Knoll Primary School. What began as a live auction for wreaths and holiday decor has expanded, but its heart is still in the holidays. The annual Festival of Wreaths took place yesterday at Crowder College in Neosho. The event draws 4 staters interested in bidding on clothing, electronics, household items, and of course, wreaths and other Christmas decorations.
Great feeling. We have a wonderful community. The county's Newton, McDonald, all these surrounding communities have been great to chip in. We've got great, support from the school, our board members. So it's a team effort, definitely, and it feels great.
The auction benefits Crowder scholarships and other programs. Last year, it raised more than $91,000. Around 50 Afghans will soon be living in the Joplin area. Refugee and Immigrant Services and Education, or RAISE, held a public meeting Tuesday in Joplin to discuss what this means for the Joplin area. They also discussed what made Joplin a good pick for the refugees. RAISE officials say they provide support for the Afghans beyond what other services can provide.
But the volunteers don't necessarily stay with the family. So we are unique, as far as I know, in that we're going to be able to have people that are going to surround these people, make them feel part of the community, and really be with them during their stay in Joplin.
Right now, the refugees are at various bases in the United States. Newman says the plan is to begin moving them by the end of January. 6:07. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the officer who shot Breonna Taylor had his hearing regarding if he'll get to return to his job after being dismissed. Plus, an international study reveals survival rates for children with cancer who contract COVID. And supply issues are hitting Thanksgiving. How that will affect Thanksgiving around the 4 states. We'll have more on that. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Later.
In Consumer Watch this morning, Thanksgiving is when many families and friends gather to eat a big meal, complete with turkey, stuffing, and pumpkin pie. But with grocery stores already struggling to fill empty shelves, people can expect to pay record high prices for their holiday food. Meg Oliver shows us why you may want to hit the grocery store early.
Thanksgiving is a few weeks away, but with so many supply chain issues, I'm here early to make sure I get all the fixins. Here's the good news. The USDA says there isn't actually a turkey shortage this year, but that doesn't mean you're not going to be paying more. The birds are going to cost you an extra 10 to 15%. If you're having a smaller Thanksgiving, buy your turkey early. The smaller ones are expected to go first as Americans keep their gatherings intimate. And by the way, if you're thinking of having chicken as an alternative, that could be a problem too. All poultry prices are rising because of factors like climate change, making the grain they eat harder to get, so more expensive, and that cost is getting passed on to us. No Thanksgiving would be complete without pumpkin, and that could be another issue. Most of our canned and pureed pumpkins come from Illinois, which was hit hard by a fungus this year. Aluminum shortages mean this and any other canned goods are in shorter supply. That's because aluminum suppliers can't get their hands on enough magnesium, which is produced in China and an important part of the aluminum making process. Farms are having a tough time all around because of wood shortages needed for shipping and labor shortages, especially migrant farm workers who weren't allowed in the country during the pandemic. If all of this is stressing you out and you need a drink, I hate to tell you this, but liquor may be harder to come by. A lot of booze comes from overseas and companies are having a tough time sourcing the bottles, and they take time to make. The overall message from the USDA is don't worry too much. If everyone gets only what they need, there should be enough to go around.
Meg Oliver, CBS News, Clifton, New Jersey.
AAA is predicting a sharp rebound in Thanksgiving travel this year to near pre-pandemic levels. Errol Barnett reports.
Families here in the U.S. and across the globe will be making up for lost time this holiday season.
Since they last saw Harper, she's grown up so much.
Later this month, the Hathaway-Nichols family in Olympia, Washington will be flying to Ohio to visit relatives they haven't seen in 2 years.
It's like I'm
5.5.
different person and just lost her tooth. Yeah, there's just a lot of different things and life events that have gone on.
They will be among the more than 53 million people expected to travel over the Thanksgiving holiday. And despite gas prices inching up more than $1 a gallon since last year, 90% of travelers are expected to drive. AAA says plan ahead.
You're going to be driving on crowded roads. There's going to be traffic. There are going to be lines at the airport. Be patient.
And AAA has some tips if you plan to travel. One of them is book early morning flights. They're less likely to get delayed or canceled. And if you're driving for Thanksgiving, consider leaving Wednesday before noon or early on Thursday if you're not heading out too far. The bottom line here is make a plan now to save on stress later. Errol Barnett, CBS News at Charlotte Douglas International Airport.
That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
Thought we'd see maybe just a sliver. And you can tell it's a live look. There goes the traffic. But that's it. It's the cloud cover. It's kind of slowing us down. Daily Almanac on this Wednesday would put our record high of 79 dating back to 1949. Got up to 70 yesterday at Joplin Regional Airport, and really temperature-wise going to be delightful once again today as we take a live look over 7th and Rangeline, a very comfortable 63 degrees. Wind still coming in at double digits, but once again, since it's out of the south, providing us with temps ranging from 60 to 64, and that is hard to beat for the middle of November. Seeing an uptick right here, 14 miles per hour now in Independence and Chanute. There's the cloud cover I was talking about. It's all eyes out to the west. We're waiting to see what formulates right here from the Oklahoma-Kansas state line up to the central portion of Kansas. That's where our thunderstorms will originate. Not going to be one of those that actually starts over us. So we'll get a good indicator here time-wise, and it's not going to affect our morning whatsoever. But the high pressure that we had yesterday has now moved east to the Mississippi, going to be replaced. Think about these as bookends, as everything's going to move right through those for Wednesday afternoon all the way into Thursday morning. So as far as what Future Track is going to send us, there we are about 4 or 5 o'clock, starts on the western edge of southeast Kansas, say about 8, 9 o'clock for the central portion, and then we'll go 9 p.m. to midnight through southwest Missouri before it departs. And as the clouds clear behind it too, much cooler temperatures. Do want to point out that we do see when it begins to originate here, going to be a little bit stronger with slight possibility of some hail and winds, and then kind of lessens as it moves off to the east right there. It's got a good horseshoe wrap to it as it makes its way through. As far as the 7-day forecast goes, we'll get sunny skies here on Veterans Day. It's going to slowly get chillier though. The daily highs are going to drop down to the 40s and 50s as we head toward the weekend. Overnight low below freezing for Friday into Saturday. Nice thing is about this half to an inch of rain that we'll get here for this afternoon into tomorrow. River, streams, ground going to be able to handle it, so really no flooding concerns. Tuesday marked the first day of the Louisville Metro Police Merit Board hearing for Miles Cosgrove. Cosgrove is the former officer who was fired from his job earlier this year from the Louisville Police Department. His termination letter cited excessive force and failure to identify a target during the March 13, 2020 attempted raid on Breonna Taylor's home. Cosgrove was one of 3 of the officers physically involved in the shooting who was fired. David Mattingly with the details.
Sitting quietly with his attorney, former LMPD detective Miles Cosgrove listened as an internal investigator for LMPD described the deadly force he used the night he shot and killed Breonna Taylor, and the moment a dispatcher tried to confirm who officers were shooting at.
Detective Cosgrove stated out loud to those around him, negative, unknown. So that again told me he did not know who the shooter was.
Claiming self-defense after Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, wounded Officer Jonathan Mattingly, Cosgrove and the other officers returned fire, leaving Taylor's apartment riddled with bullet holes and the scene littered with shell casings. Cosgrove fired 16 shots, including the fatal bullet that took Taylor's life. Sergeant Andrew Meyer, investigating for the LMPD Professional Standards Unit, testified supporting the decision to fire Cosgrove for failing to properly identify a target. Cosgrove's attorney, in turn, described a high-stress situation that unfolded in a matter of seconds, questioning the investigator's conclusions.
We've talked about what the policy says, you indicated, but the truth is it's a matter of interpretation, isn't it?
I wasn't leaving it to interpretation for myself. I saw the words and I read the words.
But you just said people had different views, right?
Sure.
So people have different interpretations of policy, right?
The hearing will continue for another 4 days this month and actually carry on over into December as testimony continues Wednesday. Now, if the Merit Board determines the firing was not fair, could recommend another penalty such as a demotion or a suspension instead. But If the firing is upheld, then Cosgrove can appeal in circuit court. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the kind of exercise most beneficial for people suffering from anxiety and new concerns about a steroid used to treat COVID patients. Elise Preston takes a look at some of today's top health stories.
The doctors are prescribing the steroid dexamethasone to many patients with COVID-19, but a new UK study finds the drug could induce diabetes in some patients because it causes a spike in blood sugar levels. For patients already diagnosed with diabetes, the drug can make it worse. UK researchers say the steroid does reduce the risk of death from COVID-19 and can still be beneficial for patients with diabetes if they're monitored for complications. A worldwide study of children with cancer and COVID-19 infections finds most have mild cases and almost all make a full recovery. But German researchers say young cancer patients with multiple health conditions, severe infections, and low white blood cell counts are significantly more likely to have severe COVID. And Swedish researchers say moderate and strenuous exercise alleviates symptoms of anxiety, even when the disorder is chronic. Their study assigned nearly 300 people with anxiety to a 12-week program of cardio and strength training and found the more intensely they exercised, the more their anxiety symptoms improved. Those are some of today's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
5 minutes, Tanya. Now we're starting to see a little break in the cloud cover. Live look outside the mothership, and here we are as we transition to 7th and Rangeline. Still going to have to put up with the heavy cloud cover, but at the same point, trapped in all the heat that we had yesterday. A very, very comfortable 63 degrees here at 6:24 in the morning. 61 in Neosho and Miami, 64 in Chanute. Let's roll 62 in Nevada. Wind still coming in from the south and not as blustery as what it has been, but still that consistent double-digit readings. From the Skywatch storm tracker, illustrates the heavy cloud cover. Yet to see anything really begin to originate out to the west, but that's where our eyes will be for today. It's the trough of the jet stream. Right there where it digs out. Now as this moves into central Kansas, that will be the origination of our thunderstorms for this afternoon and evening, and right in between those two low pressure systems that range from the panhandles up to Nebraska right now. We'll still have great temperatures, mid to high 60s, and let's talk about our rain because as it begins to roll through, say about 4 or 5 o'clock, far western edge of southeast Kansas, 8 to 9 o'clock for the central part. Throw some thunder and lightning in there with it as well, about ½ an inch to an inch of accumulation. And then 9 to midnight before it departs out of southwest Missouri right there. And we do see the marginal category on the severe thunderstorm risk map. After it rolls through, cold front for a couple days takes us down. But the nice thing is we've got Veterans Day plans. Look at that, 60 degrees, sunny skies, not going to be bad at all. Still really eyeballing Friday night into Saturday morning where it's going to be below freezing.
Coming up, a shooting in the Joplin area leads to an arrest of one of the victims. And McDonald County, Missouri challenges parents to have their kids read 100 books before kindergarten. Also, what began at Crowder College as an auction of wreaths is back this year and bigger than it was before.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Starting to see a little peek of light through the heavy cloud cover. There we are outside of Television City from 7th and Rangeline. Still overcast. It's very comfortable though. 63 degrees, anywhere from really 59, where we've seen a little dip in Monette and Cassville. First time we've had a 50 on the board this morning. All the way up to 64 right now is what we're looking at in Chanute and Welch. Skywatch Storm Tracker, just the clouds. Don't have any precipitation with it as of yet. We're watching out to the west. We'll see the trough of the jet stream right there where it digs down. That's where those thunderstorms will begin later this afternoon and carry us all the way into Thursday morning. Now our weather trend for today, very, very pleasant temperatures, high 60s, able to do that even with the clouds. Just going to be fighting the rain for tonight. Thunderstorm activity, bouts of heavy rain, anywhere from, say ½ to an inch of accumulation, but with our ground and our streams, creeks, rivers right now, pretty low, not looking too bad. So flooding is not going to be a concern. And it really doesn't linger. It starts about 4 out in the west, By the time we get to midnight, we have just rolled right through. Clearing skies after that, bringing us cooler temperatures, much cooler temperatures by the weekend. Still looking at a great Veterans Day though, Tanya. High around 60, sunny skies. Parades, organizations, ceremonies, no worries there. Get it out of the way now.
There you go.
Yep.
Get out of the way. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, Joplin police investigate 2 shootings, one leading to the arrest of the victim. Both shootings happened Monday. The JPD responded to the first one just before 10:30 a.m. on the 900 block of South Conner Avenue. That's where they found 29-year-old Joseph Pryor suffering from a single gunshot wound. He received treatment for a non-life-threatening wound at the hospital. Then police arrested him on active warrants out of Webb City. The second shooting happened on the 3100 block of South Jefferson Avenue. Officers were called around 5:30 p.m. Found a man with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. No word on his condition. Joplin police are still investigating, but they believe this was an isolated incident and that there is no threat to the public. Oklahoma Supreme Court overturns a $465 million opioid ruling against drug maker Johnson & Johnson, finding that a lower court wrongly interpreted the state's public nuisance law. The court ruled in a 5-1 decision Tuesday that the district court in 2019 was wrong to find that New Jersey-based J&J and its Belgium-based subsidiary, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, violated the state's public nuisance statute. It also rejected the state's appeal to increase the damage award to $9.3 billion. Spokespeople for Oklahoma's current Attorney General, John O'Connor, and for J&J did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The Kansas Department of Transportation says it is facing a staffing shortage that could slow the clearing of highways in winter storms. The department said yesterday that it's about 30% short of being fully staffed with snowplow operators across the state. The agency says the staffing shortage is worse this year than it has been in the past. Transportation Secretary Julie Lawrence says the staffing shortage means with inclement weather, some highways might not be cleared as quickly as they have been in the past. She says she's warning motorists now so they can plan ahead or alter travel plans when the state faces winter storms. Reading can be very important for young kids and their development, so the McDonald County School District is challenging parents of young kids to help them read 100 books before kindergarten. As part of the program, the district is offering mobile book checkout stations where parents can pick a book to read every week. If they follow the program, they'll hit 100 books before the child starts kindergarten.
This program does is it lets them take books home, and so they're learning the responsibility of bringing books back, taking books home, but then it's also giving them time to read with their families. And so they're short books, they're board books, so it usually takes maybe 10 minutes.
Book checkout locations are available at Southwest City Elementary and Knoll Primary School. What began as a live auction for wreaths and holiday decor has expanded, but its heart is still in the holidays. The annual Festival of Wreaths took place yesterday at Crowder College in Neosho. The event draws 4-staters interested in bidding on clothing, electronics, household items, and of course, wreaths and other Christmas decorations.
It's a great feeling. We have a wonderful community. The county's Newton, McDonald, all these surrounding communities have been great to chip in. We've got great, support from the school, our board members. So it's a team effort, definitely, and it feels great.
The auction benefits Crowder scholarships and other programs. Last year, it raised more than $91,000. Around 50 Afghans are expected to be settled in the Joplin metro area. Local group handling the Afghans held a meeting in Joplin yesterday to let the area know what to expect. KOAM's Chris Warner was at that meeting and has more.
Refugee and Immigrant Services and Education, or RAISE, held a public meeting Tuesday in Joplin to discuss what this means for the Joplin area. RAISE is based in Knoll and helps immigrants relocate to the area. The Afghans could be settled anywhere in the Joplin metro area, not just the city itself. RAISE Executive Director Mike Newman says there are several reasons they picked Joplin.
Because we have so many faith-based and community support services. We have tens of thousands of people that are attending churches that have a heart for the foreigner. We have affordable housing that a lot of the places, especially the urban cities, do not have.
Newman adds that RAISE provides extra support to those who settle in the area beyond what other agencies can provide.
but the volunteers don't necessarily stay with the family. So we are unique, as far as I know, in that we're going to be able to have people that are going to surround these people, make them feel part of the community, and really be with them during their stay in Joplin.
Newman says there's a term floating around that describes the Afghan refugees as parolees, but he says that word is different when it comes to immigration terms.
So they're not on parole. They are parolees because they did not get their paperwork done in Afghanistan. So they are over here finishing their paperwork, and then they have up to 2 years to change their status legally through the immigration court system.
Joplin resident Alan Bemo went on 5 separate trips to Afghanistan with a company to provide support to the residents over the past several years. He came to the Tuesday meeting to learn more about the plans on getting the Afghans here and how the community felt.
I was pleasantly surprised that it seemed like generally people are just wanting more information and even wanting to know how they can help.
Bemo says he supports the idea of resettling the Afghans in the area.
If they can come here to America, the land of the free and home of the brave, and set up some businesses here, do business, I'd be glad to help them.
In Joplin, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Right now, the refugees are at various bases in the United States. Newman says the plan is to begin moving them by the end of January. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News.
The fight over former President Trump's White House records related to the January 6th attack is heating up. I'm Laura Podesta with details on what a judge ruled last night.
Plus, space may be the final frontier, but only a select few can go currently. If given the chance to go, would you? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
Now, we're going to have highs today that'll be around 70 degrees. It's going to be a delightful morning. Already is. Temperatures anywhere from 59 to 64. But we're waiting on the rain, and it'll be here, begin out to the west for the late afternoon, early evening hours, and then gradually push its way from west to east till it departs early Thursday morning. Anywhere from half to an inch of accumulation. Throw some thunder and lightning in there as well. So when you take off this morning, you won't have any worries, but don't go anywhere tonight without an umbrella. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Happy Nation Watch this morning. A federal judge says former President Trump's records regarding the January 6th attack should be made public by Friday. But more court battles are likely ahead, which could delay the release by the National Archives. The bipartisan committee investigating the attack continues to move forward in other ways.
A federal judge has ruled the congressional committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol can access former President Trump's White House records. Mr. Trump quickly filed an appeal that could end up before the Supreme Court.
If somebody is hollering this hard and this loud, then I am to assume that undoubtedly you have something to hide.
In a 39-page ruling, Judge Tanya Chutkin wrote that Mr. Trump's position appears to be premised on the notion that his executive power exists in perpetuity. But presidents are not kings, and plaintiff is not president. Mr. Trump's spokesperson said this is a battle to defend executive privilege for presidents past, present, and future. The bipartisan committee is looking into the actions by the Trump White House leading up to and during the deadly riot.
We're getting information from all sorts of sources, so no one individual is going to be able to frustrate our capacity to proceed.
10 new subpoenas were sent out yesterday to high-ranking staff of the Trump administration, including ones to former White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany and senior advisor Stephen Miller.
But what I'll say is this. It's just an attempt, and you know this as well as anybody, to distract from the horrific failures of the Biden presidency.
Last month, the House voted to hold former White House advisor Steve Bannon in criminal contempt for ignoring a subpoena. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Bannon's case was referred to the Justice Department for potential prosecution. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning is a poll. Go to space. Back in April, 4 astronauts in a SpaceX Dragon capsule launched to the International Space Station. Their mission on board lasting almost 200 days. Monday night, back to Earth, splashing down in the Gulf of Mexico. NASA now turns its attention to sending the replacement crew, which after a minor medical issue and some bad weather should take place today. Of course, reusable rockets really change the considerations for what it takes to conduct a space trip. So much so that, of course, paving the way for space tourism in the very near future, which is where we pick up our question, would you want to go to space? And look at this, 59% of you say, no, I'm happy right here on Mother Earth. 41% say, yeah. Count me down and let's lift off, Major Tom. All right, we're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Two ways, of course, to get a hold of the Instapoll. Number one, KOAM News Now Facebook page. Number two, straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Now let's come back and do birthdays and anniversaries.
All right, we'll kick off our birthday list with Skylee Akins, who's turning 1 year old this year in Fort Scott.
This is a good looking getup. I like that hat and coat right there. That's pretty cool. Keston Ullman celebrated a birthday yesterday. We'll keep on carrying it over, Keston. A big number 3 to Mr. Almond, who is in Parsons.
All right, and we got Bristol Hulsley turning 4 years old this year in Fredonia. Hope it's a great one, Bristol.
Harley Castagno, a happy 5th birthday to Miss Harley. Love the bow. Thank you, Dylan. Harley is, I want you to know that these birthday wishes come with love from Mom and Dad.
And Lander Johnson turning 6 years old in Oswego.
On to double digits. That's where we've got Jasmine White Church. Love that hat, Miss Jasmine. She is celebrating her 10th in Jasper, and this comes with love from Granny and Papa Charles.
Aw. Lariah Nash is celebrating birthday number 11 this year. Hope it's a great one.
On to the teens, Colton Johnson. Little Humboldt Cub pride right there. Colton, a happy 18th to you.
And Trey Strand out in Parsons celebrating birthday number 20 this year. Happy birthday, Trey.
On to the 30s. That's where we find Jody Pitts. Jody is celebrating her 33rd birthday. And Jody, this comes with a happy birthday wish from your daughter, Maddie.
I'm sure the whole family will be celebrating with you, though. Happy birthday, Jody. Phyllis Maybe in Columbus, wishing you a birthday wish this morning.
And Tanya Thornton. She is celebrating. Oh, we may have big ads, because Miss Tanya, she celebrates her birthday in Thayer. And Barbara Dale, Barbara, we're going to give you a screen all to yourself, ma'am. I want you to have a marvelous birthday. Miss Barbara is in Coffeyville. A happy birthday and a happy anniversary to all on this November the 10th. That's where you can send them into if you choose to do it email-wise. Birthdays at KOAMTV.com, or you can connect to us via our Facebook site or our internet site, KOAMnewsnow.com. And as a matter of fact, Tanya has a very important announcement about that website.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. So go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Let's take this time to honor this morning's four-state hero. Ricky Weisner served in the United States Army from 1971 to 1974 and a native of Carthage, Missouri. We salute you, Ricky Weisner, this morning's four-state hero. Let's transition outside the mothership. Starting to see a little break in the cloud cover right there. Going to be a nice, it's warm, let's put it that way, because our average high, afternoon high for this time of year should be about 61. We're already at 63 degrees. And a large part of that is because of the cloud cover that trapped in that warmth that we had yesterday. Topped out yesterday at 70 degrees at Joplin Regional Airport. And the wind still coming in double digits right there from the south, 10 miles per hour. We've been as high as 15 miles per hour out to the west at the airports of Independence and Chanute. But of course what it does is feeds us wonderful, wonderful November temperatures ranging anywhere from 59 to 64. As a matter of fact, we just had that 1 degree slip out in Monette and Cassville earlier. We didn't even have any 50s on the board. It's been a great morning right now. 61 in Miami and Iola. 62 in Pittsburgh. No wind chill, of course. The Skywatch storm tracker illustrating the heavier cloud cover. You've really got to get all the way down to central Arkansas to see where it clears off. And so behind that cloud cover, an indicator of that falling barometer that's going to bring us low pressure system. But you'll notice the two things right here. Number one, the trough of the jet stream. And as it progresses to the east, that's where our thunderstorms will develop. And then this little warm swath that we've been able to cut out, complements of the jet stream and the warmer air that they have in Texas, providing us with a very, very mild morning. Now here's that low pressure system. You can tell the darker spots that turn red right there. That's why our barometer's falling and those clouds are continuing to grow. Right here, starting to see just a little development. I wanted to move that L so I could kind of point out exactly where that is right there on the panhandles is where we see it beginning to develop. But it's going to take a long time before it's on us. No worries this morning, as our afternoon planner is going to lift us up into the high 60s. And then we can talk about our rain activity. So as it proceeds through, say about 4 o'clock is when it gets started on the western edge of southeast Kansas, about 8, 9 o'clock for our central counties, and then 9 to midnight before it presses through the rest of southwest Missouri and out of our area. Clearing skies after that. The nice thing about that is if you have Veterans Day plans, number one, we'll be done with the rain. Number two, we'll have a lot of sunshine. And number three, temps will be seasonable. We'll be around 60 degrees. Of note, we do show up on the severe thunderstorm risk map, just that marginal category. Our chances for any hail or damaging winds remain very slight. You can tell it tapers off there as it moves to the east. It's kind of a horseshoe pattern that it'll create, really range from about the Red River all the way up to the Great Lakes, and it stays together pretty good all the way to the mid-Atlantic by the time we get to Friday. 7-day forecast, speaking of Friday, check out that overnight low from Friday into Saturday. Going to dip down to, if not below, the freezing mark. So after our thunderstorm activity for today, then we'll begin to turn our attention to the frost advisories and freeze warnings that will close out our work week. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this. Look at the KOAM News Now Insta poll, and majority of you say you're just content to stay right here on planet Earth, Mother Earth is what I was going to say. 63% of you say, no thank you. Really don't have any need to go to space. Appreciate everybody's engagement. Remember, 2 ways to connect. Number 1, the KOAM News Now Facebook page if you want to go directly to the poll. KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Tanya?
Top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Members of the Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity at Pitt State are raising money and awareness for area homeless. They're doing so by staying outside in cardboard structures while collecting donations and money. Jasper and Newton County chapter of 100 Women Who Care is helping support the Alliance of Southwest Missouri's Good Dads program. On Tuesday, the group donated $2,500 to the Alliance. Good Dads program helps fathers build better relationships with their kids and also helps fathers budget to meet family needs. Folks in Miami have a chance to learn some relaxation and balance techniques. The Miami Public Library is offering Tai Chi classes hosted by Rick Poley. The first class was offered on Tuesday. There will be other classes on November 16th, 18th, 23rd, and 30th. In December, there are classes on the 2nd, 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th through the 16th. Reading can be very important for young kids and their development, so the McDonald County School District is challenging parents of young kids to help them read 100 books before kindergarten. As part of the program, the district is offering mobile book checkout stations where parents can pick a book to read every week. If they follow the program, they'll hit 100 books before the child starts kindergarten. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
When you head out the door, don't need a jacket, but don't forget the umbrella. It's very, very calm out there and almost warm right now, considering it's the 10th of November and we're talking about temperatures that pre-sunrise are sitting up into the low 60s. Our weather trend, yeah, we know what we're waiting on, and by the time we get to the afternoon, here it comes. Afternoon and evening rolling in west to east and anywhere from half to an inch of rain. Shouldn't have any flooding concerns though. Our ground and river's going to be able to absorb most of it. Clear off for what's going to be a sunshiny, nice Veterans Day, high around 60 degrees. But the cold air not quite done, as it will continue to drop us down as we head into the weekend, including slipping below that freezing point for Friday night into Saturday morning.
Coming up today at noon, we're making butternut squash and apple soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on Koam. We've got the CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we revisit the guy who made skateboards out of pizzas.
Why, do we know why, or do we have an update?
Oh, we'll enjoy it. Another version of it.
Oh.
I guess more details. More details.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was wondering, like, when he said he...
It's a Jenny Moose. Jenny Moose got
when
into
he set him out
so
for 8 days, I'm like, I don't think you just leave food out for 8 days.
we told you the story, but now we're going to hear it from Jeannie Moose.
All right, we also have the latest internationally as the Poland-Belarus border issue is escalating. We're going to dig into that story and more, so flip on over with us. On Fox 14, we'll continually keep our eyes on the Skywatch storm tracker as well and watch those thunderstorms begin to develop in central Kansas before they head our way. Other than that, get out and enjoy a great Wednesday morning. Do me a favor, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
We're going to do it again today at noon.
There's casinos, then there's High Winds